Hello, this is Ari with Modern Telecom, and I'm going to be talking to you about the X6U phones here. Alright, on these phones, you have your speakerphone button down here, which will engage the call. This button right here flips the pages, which are all the speed dial keys. So here we're on page 1, and as I keep pressing this, it'll tab through the different pages that are programmed. What the lights mean is lights that are yellow, these are people that are on Do Not Disturb status. Lights that are green are people that are available. And for example, if somebody was in a call, so they were busy, then their light will be red. So this person's currently using their phone. And people who are yellow are on Do Not Disturb. To put your phone on Do Not Disturb so that your light shows yellow for everybody else and your phone will not ring anymore, push the Do Not Disturb button, DND. What will happen is a little red icon pops up on the top here, and on everybody else's phone, your light will now be orange. You can turn this off, and it'll return your light back to green. All right, so some of the things you can do here is I'm going to call another extension. So I'm going to call this person here. So I've answered it on the adjacent phone over here. And now if we want to, let's say, park that call so that it can be picked up from a different phone, we just select one of the parking spots that are right here. So let's say I push parking spot 102. And now what's happening is this light's flashing red. So that's to let everybody in the company know that there's somebody waiting on that parking spot. So I'll just move over to some other phones. You can see flashing red. On every phone, it's flashing red on that parking spot. So now you could go to any other phone and push this same parking spot to take that call off hold. And now this phone is we've retrieved that call. I'll push end to disconnect it because I didn't hook up a receiver to this phone. So otherwise, you could just put the receiver back down. All right. So those are the parking spots. Other things on this phone that you can do is the company directory. So when you push directory, you can then dial by name, and this will be any of the staff member in the company, or you can switch. You can just scroll up and down to different people. But if you type, let's say G, oh, there we go, G. Okay, so now it'll just sort by G, and you'll get all the people's name that starts with G. And if you type a second letter, it'll filter that down so that you're just to that person. Let's return it to there. All right, your call log will show you all the inbound calls if you move over here, outbound calls you've made, and missed calls. All right, other things you can do on here is if you want to call forward your extension to somebody else's extension. Let's say, let's suppose Mark is taking your calls for the day, so you could do call forward. Hit OK, and now choose what condition you would like that call to be forwarded. So unconditional would be all the time. Busy would be just if you're too busy to answer so if you're on a call and another call comes in and you don't answer the second call that's come in, so that means that you were busy, so then it would forward it to somebody else. And no answer would mean if you just didn't answer this phone. So instead of it being going to your voicemail, it will send it to a different extension. So unconditional would be always forwarding your extensions. So I could click unconditional. I need to actually click enabled. So I need to turn that over to enabled. And then 4337. OK. All right, so now I can return. And how I know that's actually live and working right now is there's an icon on the top here that shows that your phone calls and there's an arrow pointing away from it. So that means your calls are going somewhere else. To turn that off, we can go back into the call forwarding. Unconditional, and we can choose disabled. And now that icon is gone, so your calls are no longer being forwarded. All right, I'm going to show you how to transfer calls. So let's suppose you've received a call. So I'm going to simulate a call coming in from this phone. All right, I'm going to answer this call, and now I want to transfer this call over to someone else. I'm just going to get that phone ready. So I'm going to transfer it over to 4321. So if I want to just immediately take this call and move it over to that phone, I can just go ahead and push that button that's available. If that person's green and they're available, I can just push it. And that's it. It immediately moves the call over to this phone and it begins ringing. And now that person's talking. So another way is if you wanted to transfer the call, but first wanted to have a conversation with the person before you've completed the transferring. So what you would do is you would push transfer, but then you would type in the phone number or the extension of the person you want to have a conversation with first. So let's say 4331, and I'm going to say dial that person. Now what's going to happen is we're going to answer this on speakerphone here. We're going to have it, we can have our conversation with the person, and on this phone, it says that the mark is on hold while we're talking with Nish. So when we're ready to actually complete the transfer and no longer have this phone talking, we can then just push the transfer button. So now what's going to happen here, I'll zoom out so we can see all three phones. So this phone is now hung up, and these two phones are now talking to each other. So these are conferenced. So the key in doing what's called an attended transfer is you're dialing a phone first and then completing the conference, versus a blind transfer would be simply just pushing the button right away. So there, and immediately moves it over to the other phone where it can be answered. And we'll just hang up. All right, a few other items on here is there's the button here, which is the mailbox. So when this light is flashing, and it will say on the screen that you've got some voicemails, you can push this button.
You are calling your mailbox for the first time. To identify your extension, you may record your name. This recording will be used when someone reaches your mailbox or when the auto attendant redirects a call to your extension. To start recording...
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there. So that's a first-time setup. Everybody will be prompted to do a first-time recording of their name and a personal welcome message on the phone. So the name would just be saying your name, and that's it. And that's that's going to be entered into the dial by name directory. And your personal welcome message would be more on the lines of a greeting when you're not available. Sorry, I couldn't answer the phone. Please leave a message, etc. So there's two recordings that you will make on the phone, and you'll be prompted to do that the first time that you push the mailbox button. So now I'm going to show you some of the paging features on the phone. I put some of the paging buttons on the second page, so when we move over here, you'll see here are some of the phones that aren't specifically assigned to people, but they're boardroom, label room, warehouse, and then down here, there's a button that says paging. So if we push this paging button, what's going to happen is the phone will go off hook, and we can record a message. When we hang up, that message will then be relayed to every single phone, including the warehouse loudspeaker. So here's an example. This is a test page. I'm sending a test page. And now I'll just hang up.
This is a test page. I'm sending a test page. And now I'll just hang up.
All right, so as you saw, all the phones went off hook for a few minutes, just so it could broadcast the page throughout the speakers. There's also a loudspeaker sitting here on the floor just for testing, so it was extra loud because it was coming through the loudspeaker as well. And that's it for the paging. So every phone has that option where you can just trigger it, say what you want to say, and hang up.
Say what you want to say.
And that's it. All right, now let's suppose you just wanted to talk through the warehouse speaker. So it's not exactly a page, but maybe you need to just talk longer and just through the warehouse. So you have a button here which shows like an arrow pointing to the warehouse. This means intercom. So this is what's going to happen is it's going to be a real-time talking through the warehouse speaker, like an intercom would be. So I'll do this. And now everything I say is going to be broadcasted. It's a little bit feedback because that speaker happens to be quite loud, but it's a real-time live dialogue. The reason why we don't page that way is because you get feedback. So if you're in a small office where the phones are close together and it's real-time live intercom paging, then you're most likely going to get that feedback sound, which is very annoying. So that's why on our paging mode, we record the message first, and then when you hang up the phone, that's when it actually plays back the message. Thereby, there's never a scenario where you'd get that feedback sound. Next thing I'm going to show you is the conference room. So all these phones have a conference room feature that anybody can press this conference room and be entered into an immediate conference. So I'll give you an example here. The extension is 333.
Welcome to the conference server. You are now entering the conference. You are the first participant in the conference. Please hold the line.
All right, so then there's some music that's going to play, and I'm just going to put this phone on mute because I don't want any feedback to happen, so I'm going to turn that volume down. I'm going to now move over to another phone, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go over to the conference room, and the light is lit up red because it's saying that there's a conference in progress, but that's good because we actually want to join this conference.
Welcome to the conference server. You are now entering the conference. There is one more participant in the conference.
And that's it. So now these two phones are linked together. I could move to a third phone over here and do the same thing. Let's move over there. Conference is in progress.
Welcome to the conference server. You are now entering the conference. There are 2 more participants in the conference.
And now all 3 of these phones are joined into the same conference. So I'm going to hang up on a couple here. One other thing you could do is if you had a client or a vendor that called in and also wanted to participate into this conference, what you would do is then transfer their call into 333. Anybody can join by simply being transferred into this extension. It's like a virtual room. So you can call into reception, and then reception says, "Oh, are you calling for the conference? Hang on a moment," and then transfers that call into 333, where it will then join up with the rest of the phones that are currently in that conference. I'm going to hit end to exit the conference, and every time somebody leaves a conference, listen to a tone that will sound through the phones. So that tone is letting you know that somebody left the conference. And when the last person leaves, the conference light goes off and goes back to green to say that it's now an empty conference room and nobody's in there. The last feature here I'm going to show you at the bottom of the screen is an out of service. So this would be if you have to close the business early, or for an extenuating circumstance you have to leave, or maybe you're having a big company-wide party, or there's a snowstorm coming, or something along those lines, and you want all phones to no longer ring and to activate the after hours auto attendant message, then you would just push the out of service button.
Service is now active.
Okay, so the light has gone red, and it said that the service is now active. It's indicated on all the phones with the red light, and basically what that means is the auto attendant is going to switch over to the night mode. So it's as if you were closed for after hours, but you can enable that early at any time that you like. So we can turn that off. This will stay on indefinitely until you turn it off. So if it's
service is now inactive.
It's also good to use on the night before a long weekend. So if there's going to be a Friday that you're closed, then you should engage that on Thursday, and then when you come back in on Monday, you can turn that off. Another great feature of these phones is the ability to use different types of headsets. So on the back of the phone, you will find that there is several jacks that can be used for headsets. So one of them right there is the USB jack. So you can use a computer-style headset by plugging into the USB port. And on the back here, you'll see that there's multiple handset plugs. The one that is on the bottom is for the actual handset that sits on the cradle of the phone. And the one above that shows the picture of the over-the-ears headset, that's for a traditional telephone headset that can go on that top jack. The third type of headset that can be used on these phones is Bluetooth. So if you've got a wireless headset that's Bluetooth and you want to sync it to this phone, you'll push the menu button to get to some special features. You'll go over to Basic. So I'm just going up and down on these arrows here, and when I get to the Basic, I'll hit OK. And then I'm going to go all the way down this menu to where it says Bluetooth. And I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to enable Bluetooth. Once that's enabled, then we have to pair a headset. So we'll go into here and we'll scan for an available headset. At this point, I don't have a headset here that it's going to scan for, but you would put your headset into pairing mode, usually by holding down the button on the headset until it's flashing blue. It will then show up on this list wirelessly, and you'll say OK to select it, and that's it. Then you'll be able to return out of this menu. And from that point forward, you'll notice that in the top here, there's going to be a headset icon. It's I can't turn it on right now without having a headset, but you'll have the headset icon there. And you are still able to select whether you want to use the handset or speakerphone or headset by pushing this button here. So this button would answer the call on the headset. This button answers the call on the speakerphone. And lifting the receiver answers the call on the handset. So you're actually able to use all three at the same time and toggle between them. You don't disable the handset if you're using the headset. So you've got a special headset answering button right there, speakerphone answering button there, or lifting the handset. Last thing I want to leave you with is with each phone, there is a quick reference guide here. It's great because it doesn't require you to read a 300-page manual, although there is a 300-page manual online that we can email to you. It's a PDF file. This is a really quick one. It's only a couple of pages, and actually all the good stuff's just on the back side right here, where it lists out exactly some of the stuff we covered in this video, which is transferring, call forwarding, how to get into the Bluetooth menu, how to check your voicemail, do not disturb. There's a little bit extra here stuff, how to add more programmable keys. So, but really just the couple things about call forwarding, call transferring, and Bluetooth, that's all just on that one little page. So really handy. Each phone comes with this card, and if you need a PDF copy of that emailed to you to reprint, then just let us know. Thanks for watching.